Donald Trump sigue convencido de que puede escapar de la realidad como quien se esconde detrás de un carrito de golf. Cree que si ordena dejar de hablar de los archivos de Epstein o asegura que los precios están bajando, todos vamos a sentir como si no existiera internet. Hoy volvió a huir de su campo de golf, su refugio favorito cuando las cosas se incendian. Pero esta vez la escapada salió pésima. El propio aparato propagandístico que siempre lo protegió, Fox, acaba de admitir que el desastre ya está en marcha. Renuncias internas, aliados virándose en su contra y un futuro electoral que se desploma.
The first of many. He called her a canary in the coal mine and said that congressional Republicans are, quote, going to get a lot of people retiring. Punchbowl News, run by Jake Sherman, who has excellent contacts in Congress, reports that Republicans believe they have no chance of winning the House of Representatives next year. That's what Republicans believe, and they blame two people, Donald Trump and Mike Johnson. Quote, a few other GOP members messaged us over the weekend saying that they too are considering retiring in the middle of the term. Here's one particularly exercised senior House Republican, quote, this entire White House team has treated all members like garbage, all. And Mike Johnson has let it happen because he wanted it to happen. That is the sentiment of nearly all appropriators, authorizers, hawks, doves, rank and file. The arrogance of this White House team is off-putting to members who are run roughshod and threatened. They don't even allow little wins like announcing small grants or even responding from agencies. Not even the high profile, the regular rank and file, random members are more upset than ever. Members know they are going into the minority after the midterms. More explosive early resignations are coming. It's a tinderbox. Morale has never been lower. Mike Johnson will be stripped of his gavel, and they will lose the majority before this term is out. That's not a reporter summarizing what the reporter has found. That is a senior House Republican putting it in writing, in a text, saying members know they are going into the minority after the midterms. It's a tinderbox. Morale has never been lower. Mike Johnson will be stripped of his gavel. In other words, the senior House Republican who wrote that is a rational politician who can see that insane policies that hurt voters will hurt the party supporting those policies. You do bad things in government and you lose elections. And what that senior House Republican is saying is that virtually all House Republicans know this. The senior members, the junior members. And that's why it's a tinderbox. What they need to turn the tinderbox into a functioning congressional party is for a calming, steady leader.
Esto ya no es un pronóstico, es el parte oficial de hundimiento. El propio partido de Trump reconoce que se dirigen directo a perder el poder, incluso más fuerte de lo que ocurrió en 2018. Y lo más grave para él no es solo esa caída electoral, sino la desobediencia abierta dentro de las filas MAGA. Ya no le temen. Ya no ven sus amenazas como algo capaz de arruinarle la carrera y por eso renuncian, se van o directamente se deslindan de él. Y hablando de esa fractura interna, pasemos al siguiente episodio de esta caída en cadena. El intento fallido de Trump por renombrar su propia base mientras Fox empieza a romper el silencio. Ahí está la confirmación. Trump no solo está perdiendo elecciones, está perdiendo el control y cuando un movimiento político deja de temerle a su jefe, ese jefe deja de existir políticamente. La desbandada republicana no es casualidad, es instinto de supervivencia. Y mientras su coalición se desmorona, su gobierno también se cae a pedazos. Lo que pasa es que dentro del gabinete del presidente no tiene precedentes. Vamos a ver lo que revelaron sobre el caos interno en la Casa Blanca. Este es el cuadro completo. Un presidente que huye del golf mientras su partido se quiebra. Su gabinete hace el ridículo y sus propias investigaciones se derrumban por torpeza. MAGA ya no es un bloque indisciplinado, es una fuga masiva de quienes no quieren hundirse con él. Y antes de cerrar, prepárense, porque el próximo fragmento que viene deja aún más claro el nivel de desesperación dentro del círculo íntimo de Trump.
That this is the same Sean Duffy who just scrapped a Biden-era proposal to compensate travelers for flight disruptions. But hey, maybe you'll feel better about paying out of pocket for the airline's mistakes if you're doing it in a nice dress and some tasteful pumps. I bet you would. But I've got to say, I mean, compared to some of Trump's other cabinet secretaries, of which there are many doing weird stuff, Duffy almost seems like a problem solver. I mean, just consider Trump's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Right now, he also, to be fair, has a lot on his plate. Trump's tariff policy disaster, all those deals Trump promised haven't really come to fruition. Prices are up, housing costs are up, healthcare costs are about to go way up for a lot of people. And voters continue to signal that they are unhappy with the way this administration has handled the affordability crisis. But don't worry, because Scott Bessent also has a plan.
You know the best way to bring your inflation rate down? Move from a blue state to a red state. Blue state inflation is 0.5% higher.
Of course. Struggling with the high cost of living? Just move. Quit your job. Pack up your family. Go find a new home when prices are at an all-time high. Should be easy. Do all that and your rising cost of living could go down by as much as, what was it again, Scott? 0.5%. Okay. Then there's Trump's Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the man in charge of our nation's health, has been hard at work recently, been doing a lot, making the CDC update its website with new warnings like this one. The claim vaccines do not cause autism is not an evidence-based claim, and studies supporting a link between vaccines and autism have been ignored by health authorities, which at this point is exactly the kind of anti-science propaganda we've come to expect from RFK Jr. Not a surprise, right? But what we maybe did not expect is everything else we are learning about RFK Jr. recently. I mean, last year we learned that RFK Jr. was allegedly engaged in some kind of an affair with a political reporter 39 years younger than him. Secretary Kennedy has denied the affair claims, saying they only met once for an interview. But now that reporter has written a book revealing what she says are new details about RFK Jr.'s personal life. According to the New York Times reporting on that book, she writes that despite RFK Jr.'s claim that he has been sober for decades, he still uses psychedelics and even smoked DMT, the powerful drug on which people have what feel like near-death experiences. Okay, I'm just going to resist here the urge to make a transition involving sobriety and just ask, what is Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth up to these days, you may ask? Well, the man currently in charge of the world's largest military is currently spending his working days ordering an investigation into Democratic Senator Mark Kelly over Kelly's participation in a social media video reminding members of the armed forces that they do not have to follow illegal orders. A truth. Yesterday, Senator Kelly responded to the news of this investigation, posting this photo of the numerous medals he was awarded for his service in the Navy, which in turn prompted the defense secretary to launch a new attack over all things whether or not Kelly displayed his medals in the right order. Hegseth told the senator, quote, when, if you are recalled to active duty, it'll start with a uniform inspection. Now, this is very cringy already, but what makes this even more cringeworthy is that as a captain in the Navy, Senator Kelly outranked Pete Hegseth in that uniform. So it's kind of hilarious that an Army major who served 5 years on active duty with the National Guard is correcting a retired Navy captain who served for more than 20. But I digress. And now even some Republicans are admitting this whole thing is just completely ridiculous. Today, Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski posted on X, quote, the Department of Defense and FBI surely have more important priorities than this frivolous investigation. Look, none of the people Trump chose to be part of his administration are exactly killing it these days. But there is perhaps nowhere in Trump's administration suffering more embarrassment than the Department of Justice. I mean, in just the past week, we learned that Lindsay Halligan, Trump's handpicked prosecutor leading the investigations into two of his rivals, made critical mistakes that jeopardized their entire case against former FBI Director James Comey. Then we got a ruling from a judge that just yesterday, actually, saying that actually none of that may matter because the Trump administration never properly appointed Halligan in the first place. So the cases she brought against James Comey and Letitia James have been dismissed. Now, at the same time, we learned that Trump's Department of Justice is now investigating two Trump officials for potentially violating the law during their investigation into Trump's other rival, Adam Schiff. There's perhaps nothing more important to Trump, nothing, in his second term than his revenge tour against those rivals. But somehow, those prosecutions have become the biggest example of incompetence we have seen from an administration staffed by some of the most...
Lo que hay alrededor del presidente en este momento es inestabilidad pura, renuncias, caos gubernamental, contradicciones públicas y un gabinete que genera vergüenza internacional y una estrategia electoral que se deshace entre sus manos. Si este es el liderazgo que intenta imponer, su caída será mucho más profunda que cualquier derrota legislativa. Esto es Rumor de Estado.